Hello everyone, I hope you're doing wonderfully well. Today I am very excited. We're going to do navigation. It's something I'm getting more and more into in DCS and our sim lives here, and I'll tell you why. Before I do that, I'll tell you who we've got today. First of all, we're very lucky to have a very experienced pilot, and in particular for our interest was for several years in the RAF, a pilot of a GR1 Tornado. Please say hello, Ali.
Hello.
We've also got Artie here, who's a good friend and supporter of us. Artie, and he has a kind of aviation background as well. I say hello, Artie.
Hi, guys.
Now, what we're doing today is a bit more in-depth navigation. You guys, the valued viewers, came to me with a problem. You said that you want to get more into the older planes in DCS. We're talking warbirds, maybe we'll get some early 50s stuff that do not have modern navigation systems. And you want to use them realistically, so you don't want to cheat and just press the F10 key to see where you are. You want to have a full, realistic, immersive navigation. And so that's what we're getting into. And I want to learn this myself as well, because I want to start to do this in missions. Realistic old school navigation. Now, we can't really find a proper name for this navigation, so we've given it the title of Visual Dead Reckoning Navigation. So that's navigation without a non-visual system like an INS system or a GPS system. Next, let's just have a very quick background so you know what we're talking about. If you're going to fly a modern plane, a 90s plus plane is probably going to have a variation of an EGI navigation system. That is an INS, inertial navigation, mixed with and updated by GPS. GPS is the golden nugget of the kind of mid-80s and 90s onwards. And it basically means you can't get lost. Unless you have a major meltdown of your nav system, your F-18, your F-16, your A-10C is not going to get lost. And so in many ways, you guys flying those planes take navigation for granted. Getting from A to B to C to D to E to the IP to the target and back again, you just look at your screen and it tells you, okay? It hasn't always been like that. It's been much, much more difficult. If we go back to the early 80s and the 70s, we had no satellites, had no GPS. What we had was INS on its own, without GPS update. Now, the only bad thing about them is without GPS update, they would become unaligned or inaccurate. If you did maneuvers in your aircraft, they would become unaligned and your navigation would become less and less accurate. Now, before that, we did have some other kind of 60s type navigation systems, but essentially before that, you were doing, and especially World War II, this type of navigation, manual visual dead reckoning, which is what we're going to do. And a great thing said by Artie there, I didn't even think about literally until he said that, was what if we go in with our fancy Hornet and our fancy A-10 into combat and, I don't know, the bad guys jam our NATO GPS satellites, all of a sudden you're back to INS. And what if your INS fails for some reason? They put some sort of thing that jams them or whatever. Then you're back to dead reckoning.
Yeah, they were actually doing this just a couple of weeks ago up here around the Northern Isles where I live, because we had a major NATO exercise going on. And as part of that exercise, they deliberately jam the GPS network. So in fact, they have to put out notifications to all the shipping, all the aircraft that are crossing the area in that time scale that their GPSs aren't going to work.
Sorry to take so long, but what I've said there is why this was important historically and why your pilot, even in your Typhoon, is going to do this as well.
A modern day pilot would have a map with the track, the turning points, the turning circles, the times, the headings, all on as a backup.
As a backup, in case his system failed, in case his modern system
Absolutely.
failed. Brilliant. The next thing I'll quickly say is that I did a video kind of on my own with RC a couple of weeks ago. It was working to get from point A to point B to waypoint 1 where the target was. And we worked it out mathematically, as perfectly as we could with an E6B calculator and all the variables. With wind considerations and whatnot, absolutely perfectly, with no type of modern. You had a directional gyro and a magnetic compass, and that's all we had. But then Ali got involved, and Ali said, oh, that's great, Cap, and that works and whatnot, but it's not how a real pilot would do it. A real pilot would do it differently, and we're into the world now of dead reckoning, mental dead reckoning, visual dead reckoning, which is how a real pilot, a real combat Tornado, Eurofighter, F-22 Raptor pilot is actually going to do this. And that's why we've got Ali on board to see how a real pilot does it. Ali has very kindly prepared this document for us, and an example. Of course, we'll go fly it and talk about it and do stuff like that.
Every RAF pilot will start doing this navigation in his Tucano or Hawk before he gets on the Tornado.
Brilliant. So this is something you're going to have to do if you're going to be in the modern fighter service.
Exactly.
Planning You may have constraints, i.e., this is going to be in fighter pilot language, by the way, so we'll do our best. TOT.
Sorry.
It's just, yeah, we're kind of getting used to it now. The time the bomb hits the target, not you overflying. Follow a basic route to deconflict or unsuitable weather. I will assume an aircraft with E2B. Sorry, can you remind me what E2B is, Ali?
It's a little round magnetic compass, standby compass that every aircraft has.
And that is literally, as he said it there, an F-15 has it, and it's, as far as I can see, identical to what a P-51 has. Also, directional gyro. Now, there are different instruments throughout the ages that are going to help us with this, and the ones that we've picked are going to be warbirds, because that's what's really going to help you guys out there, the most of you. So we'll have in World War II era, in the 40s, directional gyros that we can calibrate, as we'll see. Of some sort, and a stopwatch, of course, we'll need, and no timeline or TOT to start with.
Just to keep it simple to start with.
What speeds does the aircraft fly? Fuel burn per minute at this speed. Taxi, takeoff, circuit, and diversion fuel for the fuel plan. We've never done fuel plans before. This is going to be so weird.
Well, you've got to get back home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's something I do want to start getting into. I will use nautical miles in my example, but any units work kilometers or statute miles. So there are, of course, different metrics that we can use. To keep it as simple as possible, we're going to use nautical miles, which by, science work with knots in terms of the speed. We have knots as the speed, nautical miles as the distance. Now, our aircraft won't read knots because it's a World War II plane, so we'll make some conversions, but we'll talk about that as we go. So we're going to fly 180 knots in this case, and even that, flying 180 knots is actually more complicated than it sounds, but we'll talk about that in a bit or later on. Or 3 nautical miles per minute. Would be simpler with a knots aircraft. And have you just chosen 180 knots out of thin air? No, it's because it's a derivative of 60, is that right?
Absolutely. And when you did your last example, that appeared to be the cruising speed.
Absolutely. So a derivative of 60 to make them maths easier. Maybe a good point to say at this point is this is all about quick in your brain mental arithmetic by the sounds of things. So choosing numbers that are easy to work with is a good idea. Is that not right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't fly 192, plan to fly at 192 knots, because trying to work out sums horrible.
Yeah, so 180 easily divided by 60, so you can easily say, okay, I know that's 3 nautical miles per minute. And maybe if we can, sorry to jump ahead, but it's trying to get the viewers to think like I think, is what we're not trying to do here is we're not trying to get to, let's say, a certain point like an IP or a waypoint perfectly, mathematically perfectly, are we? We're trying to get, is it right to say, roughly in the right area so that we can get visual on that thing?
Absolutely. So a minute before, or 7 miles before the target, you want to look out the window and you should be able to see it pretty soon.
Right, yeah. So we're not trying
to... And then fly to it.
Right, so we're not...
Part of your planning will be to make sure that you choose a point where you are going to be able to see the target. Yeah. Don't choose a point with a hill between you and it.
Exactly. Yeah. Really good.
We talk about that later on.
We will fly magnetic heading, only a limited number of brain cells, so keep it simple. So you're going to see here KISS throughout this with Ali, keep it simple. We will assume Met Office or whatever winds are magnetic. However, unless the winds are stupidly high, which we won't do, not important if magnetic or true. We will use a local area variation. We will not use the term declination, because it gets confused with compass deviation, which is normally shown on a bit of paper stuck to E2B and so small that you can't fly it. We also never use decimal point headings. Well, I can't fly them accurately. Agree to all of that.
Just keep it simple. Variation from the middle of the chart will do. Don't worry about, it doesn't vary that much. Half a degree, 1 degree is nothing.
Roger. Which is weird, because it's exactly the opposite what I was doing, but this shows the difference in real, actual flying.
Yeah, but the navigation you did before with the computer is assuming you can't see the turning.
Agreed. Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair point. Winds generally, if you hear it, so if it comes in verbally, audibly, it's magnetic. So through a radio or something. If you read it, it's true.
That's just standard aviation practice.
Well, that's new to me as well, so I'm learning a lot. Variation west, compass best. Variation east, compass least. Sorry, guys, what does that mean?
That, you know, when you were applying variation to your true heading, when you were doing, we do that at the planning stage, not in the air.
Okay.
And if you remember that, you can't go wrong.
Right.
So if the variation is 6 degrees west, you add it to the true heading to get magnetic heading. Is that correct, Artie?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys, because that's, again, another thing that I've learned from my last time. How, you know, which way is plus and which way is minus. So, west, add. East, subtract. Boom, done. Generally, the route plan is on a 1 to 500,000 or half mil chart.
We just used to call it half mil chart.
IP to target. First item to look at is target and type of weapon to be deployed. Let's assume retarded bomb, lay down or levelish, low level, delivery, min height around 105 feet AGL. Ooh, that's tornado stuff, isn't it? Now we're talking, boys.
That's for a UK cast iron bomb, so it arms. If you drop it below 105 feet, it hasn't got enough time to arm, so it won't go bang.
So it is easily visible from all directions, any vertical extent or something close by with vertical extent. So once rough direction of attack is chosen, we need an IP or initial point, something easily found at low level in poor visibility. Well, these guys practice around UK, so poor visibility. Around 1 to 2 minutes from the target. The IP to target is planned on a 1 to 50,000 scale map, as we said. In the UK, a Land Ranger Ordnance Survey series map. I guess this will be for later, so how do we get to the IP?
I haven't done an IP to target run in this brief, but that's the aim, that's the next step.
Let's think about route plan. If we plan a straight line from the base to the IP, no flex for making up time if bounced, etc. And again, this is so pilot language, isn't it? And you may fly through SAM sites, etc. So plan a few turns, but try and keep them less than 60 degrees. You are more vulnerable to bounce in a turn. What does bounce mean, Ali?
Attacked by a hostile fighter. And that's what we used to do. We used to fly around doing these routes. A couple of aircraft will get airborne and bounces on the route.
So cool. You now need to choose turning points. If at low level, choose funneling features that lead to a point with vertical extent. Railway lines, one side river or the other side leading to, say, a grain silo that's 100 feet high. Perfection, you can pretty much see the turning point from 20 miles away. Keep leg length around 5 to 10 minutes to reduce accumulating errors. I think we'll talk a bit more about that. Draw a circle each turning point to make it easy to see on the map when the turbulence is constant plus 5G minus 1G. You can have hundreds of high G counts on the fatigue meter each flying hour when it's windy. In the tornado, just move the wings back to increase wing loading and smoothen the ride. At the start of each leg, a triangle shape with magnetic heading. So calculate true from map and apply variation. It's much easier to do this now rather than in the air, of course. And leg time to next turning point. You would normally put a minimum fuel. That's why we want our fuel burn per minute to complete the route. And the MSA, minimum separation altitude. It's a published terrain avoidance figure if you had to pull up into cloud to avoid the hills. When you plot the next leg, use the plotter to get the correct turn radius so you can calculate the correct true, then magnetic heading and leg time. Plot minute marks along track and please no 6 minute 21 second legs. 6:20 will do for mental dead reckoning. When learning and no time on target are the hack, and I guess we'll talk about the hack in a bit, the watch at each turning point.
When you're learning, you know, it's important that every turning point, rehack the watch. It gets rid of all the cumulative errors, blah, 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 makes life easy.
I see.
Primary instrument, the stopwatch.
Very good. Let's talk about execution. Mental dead reckoning uses the 1 in 60 rule. It's accurate enough for our needs. As we approach the first turning point, pre-hat check. HAT. H. Heading. Apply drift. Synchronize compass. A. Apply airspeed correction. T. Leg time to waypoint. Choose an intermediate significant feature and note the time it should be flown over. This is the simple version, should check fuel, MSA, etc. as well. Now, this is real life, we're not flying in a vacuum, so we're almost certainly going to have wind. So drift, how to apply. 180 knots is 3 nautical miles per min. Max drift is wind speed in knots divided by speed in nautical miles per minute, i.e. 18 knots wind, max drift is 6 degrees, so how much of the 6 degrees do we use? Easy. Imagine a clock dial and literally work out the difference between the magnetic heading and the wind magnetic direction. So heading is 151 degrees, magnetic wind is from 180 degrees, so wind angle is 30 degrees. If you imagine a clock face, 30 mins is half an hour, so apply half the max drift, i.e. 3 degrees into the wind. Airspeed correction. Again, wind angle is 30 degrees, so increase the indicated airspeed by half the wind speed, call it 10 knots, so fly 190 knots. We always plan still air and fly the corrections. So we've got a lot of mental arithmetic going on here, haven't we, Ali?
You do, but it's only done once for each leg, and once you get used to it, it's really quick.
Imagine a watch face. 15 degrees wind angle is quarter of max drift, but 3/4 of wind speed for airspeed correction. 30 degrees wind angle is half max drift and half of wind speed for airspeed correction. 45 degrees wind angle is 3/4 max drift and a quarter of wind speed for airspeed correction. 60 degree wind angle is max drift and no wind speed for airspeed correction.
That's your calculator that you used in your last navigation exercise. That's what that is.
Understood, yeah. A kind of more real life version of it, I suppose. Yeah, okay.
Yep. And it's accurate enough.
Roger. Okay, so along the leg, post hat check, HAT. So when you roll out heading on first leg, when wings level 1G, check E2B and direction gyro heading match. If not synchronized, check indicate airspeed and ensure stopwatch is running and memorize time for immediate leg fix and put your map down and look out for the baddies. Okay, so you have remembered what your immediate fix looks like, and 30 seconds or so before, look at your map and identify where you are relative to track. Either jink or get back on track, or you use the 1 in 60 rule to recalculate heading. Complex to explain, easy-ish to do in reality. 1 degree for distance of 60 nautical miles gives 1 nautical mile error, etc.
But basically, if you can see the turning point, the intermediate point, just fly to it and then go back onto heading. Maybe think of a little correction because you were drifted off. But don't worry too much.
Roger. Approaching turning point. So you are now inbound to the turning point with a position update halfway along done. At minimum, a 30-second map out check turning point and funnel features. If not on track, and visual with turning point, fly to it.
Fly to the turning point if you visual. Removes all the errors.
Roger. Hat check, prepare for next leg. Hack at the turning point. If you don't see it, rehack at correct time and turn to next wind corrected leg with wind corrected airspeed. Don't worry that you missed the turning point. It could have been a mast that cat blew up yesterday.
If you didn't see the turning point, turn on time. And obviously you're going to accumulate a little bit of an error. The turning point might not be there, as I said, if you read.
The idea is not to spend all your time looking at a map. Fly the heading carefully, maintain your MSD, minimum separation distance, i.e. 250 feet or 50 feet, however bold you are, and look out. You control the leg lengths, so you have time to fly the aircraft and look out, but not too long so errors build up. As you pointed out, this method removes errors, so at each turning point, as you reset, the faster you go, the easier it is as maxed drift reduces. Simple. See map and plotter below. So what we've got, the map here, this is the plot of the 1 in 500,000. So this is going to show our, if you like, our entire plan. Is that right?
Yeah, it's obviously from the airfield to your first turning point. We plan that as well, but, you know.
And then from IP to target, you're going to get out the 50,000.
Exactly.
Right.
And in the Tornado, for example, the navigators produce the 500,000 map, and the pilots produce the 50,000 map.
Yep, that makes complete sense to me. So it's almost like, in a way, the navigator gets you to the IP, and the pilot...
And I do the important work.
There you go. Very good.
No, but to be fair, in the Tornado, it was the navigator who marked the target with the radar, and the radar was brilliant for that.
And finally, we've got this device here down here. Could you please explain this device and roughly how you would use it?
Right. So this is our plotting instrument. As you can see around the edges, there's 1 minute marks for different speeds to use on a 500,000 map. So this, I think I had this one when I was in the Tornado, but if you're flying the Ticano, you'll have one with slower speeds.
Yeah.
So you see on the left-hand side, the circles, they're all turning circles at various speeds with 45 degrees of bank. And on the right-hand side, it's 60 degrees of bank. Because it's very important when you're plotting, if you've got a big turn, to get the right true heading from the chart to work out your magnetic heading, it's important to put the turning circle on. And it takes so long to turn, you've got to add that to your time, your leg time. So, and this just makes it it takes 5 seconds to use this thing. It's very quick. And obviously, we also put a circle round the turning point so we don't deface the map, so we can see what's there. And don't choose the letter R, which I've seen happen as a turning point, because there's nothing there.
Nice. We are on the 1 to 500,000 equivalent map. What we've got here is a print screen of DCS, and let me talk you through it. Here's where we're starting with our P51. Here is, if you want to call it waypoint 1, it's our first turning point here. The visual point is going to be a TV tower. We've chosen, this is right, isn't it, Ali? We choose points for our turning points that we can see on the ground. Yeah?
Well, when you're at low level, you want them with vertical extent, so they're above you.
Exactly right, and that's exactly what we've done. So we're not into the funneling features today, but we are, for this example, into the vertical extent. We've got vertical extent, the first TV tower, nice and easy to see, and that is our first turn point, if you like. Okay, our second turn point is going to be, again, and technically this could kind of have funneling features, but this is vertical extent. We've got a water tower, much smaller and harder to see, but it's definitely there. At that point, we are going to run along parallel with a railway line. It's hard to see on the video probably, but I'm running my cursor along a railway line here where we're going to be going, pretty much in the right direction as well, to this point here. This is what we call the bollock. This is a lake here, and we're proper RAF terminology. That is the bollock or the wang of the lake, okay? And that's what we're going to be using. That's turning point 3. And then we're going to work our way back to to complete the circle to turning point turning point 1. This is the kind of simple version. We've not had an IP and a target in. That will be, if you like, the next video that we'll do when we get together with Ali. We'll get an actual realistic target in. But if we can do this, that would be a great first start. The first thing we want to do is to get our minute markers, assuming that our ground speed, which is 180 knots, what we can say is that every 3 nautical miles is 1 minute. So we've got a scale here. This map, we couldn't get it to be 1 in 500,000. So what we did is we found the scale of the map. And what we calculated is that on this JPEG picture, 140 pixels equals 3 nautical miles at 180 knots gives us 1 minute. And we work in minutes. These guys work in minutes. I keep saying to Ali, this many miles, and he's like, no, don't talk in miles. Miles don't exist anymore. It's all about minutes, which for me is a very foreign concept. So first we plot our minute markers. Next thing to say is that what we would usually do while plotting these minute markers is to go around the radii of the curves, and you can get your radii here, and you can see you're going that many knots, so put your radii in, and again it's all in terms of time at certain speeds. But because it's just turned out so hard to do it with pixels, it would take all day. So we're just going to do it point to point to point to point without the curves. We'd need a proper map, and I'd need a pencil and a pen. Maybe we can do that another time, but not now. Okay, so let's get our minute markers in. What we've done is we've drawn a triangle. Let me grab him. Whoopsie. This triangle is exactly 140 pixels from center to edge. So if we grab him as a transparent section, and you can see we can just, and it's going to get a bit ugly doing this, but that's just how we're going to have to do it because that's the best thing we've got. So we've got 1 minute. We've got 2 minute. And a bit. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, this would be much easier with a scale map and a ruler, but you know, this is what we've got. And we just need to work out as best we can what we've got here. And I guess we're going to dead reckon this. I'd say guessing that is going to be about 5 1/3 minutes. Have you calculated any better than that, Ali?
525 is what, if you just do the distance divided by the ground speed.
Roger. We do have the distance of 16.4 nautical miles, and that's what we've scaled from there to there. So 5.25. Yeah, Ali?
5 minutes 25 seconds.
Right, gotta think time. 5 minutes 25 seconds. Right, heading. We know from our map that we've got here is true. For this leg here of, let me just consult my chart. I've got true of 159. Okay, now we are in the Caucasus in 2016 in this case, Ali. And in 2016, the magnetic deviation was...
Variation,
God. Was 6.5 degrees east over north. That's right, isn't it?
Check.
Right, and we go back to our mnemonic, that word I just can't say. Then that's going to be minus 6.5 degrees, which is going to be...
6 will do.
6, yep. Okay, dead reckoning. 159 minus 6 equals 153. You happy with that?
Yep, and this all needs to be done in your brain.
Oh, no chance. 1.153 degrees. That's magnetic, isn't it?
Yep. You don't need to plot say magnetic. Anything on a chart when we do this is magnetic.
Right, okay.
Everything we talk about is magnetic.
Roger.
Just like when you fly, it's magnetic.
Right, so the conversion, so the hard work's done here in the plotting office and not in the plane. Okay, well, to save you time, we've shown you how we're going to do that. We're going to go and plot the next couple of legs and we'll be right back. Okay, so we've now populated legs 2 and 3. We've got 6 minutes 40 for leg 2. Note you always put the symbology at the beginning of the leg. And we're going to fly 281 and we'll talk about why it's different from what it, if you like, should be. And then for leg 3, we've got a time of 6:45 at 049. Now, notice that for the heading, we are 2 degrees above what the theoretical magnetic heading should be if we're talking 6 degrees magnetic variation. Can you explain that, why we've added those 2 degrees on for this particular example with our current restrictions, Ali?
If we haven't plotted the turning circle, if we were heading the 281 to the turning circle and then turned to the right with 45 degrees of bank, our radius of turn would be around about a mile, which would put us a mile left of track. So that's the track we need to plot for this leg, which is probably a couple of degrees higher than 047. So imagine that that you're a bit further left of track, so the track head would be slightly different.
Right. So in this case, because we haven't plotted using these proper radii, because we can't get it to work, on the computer version, we're doing a little trick here to help compensate for that. Again, dead reckoning as best we can. And the guys have just been explaining to me why it's important to have these visualized minutes on, these minute ticks. I know we put circles on it. It's just what we usually have is a minute tick, 2 minute tick, 3 minute tick, kind of 4 minute tick there. So minute spacings and why it's important. Could you guys just explain why it's important to have those visual scaled minute ticks on the route, please?
Yeah, Cap. On the first leg, at 2 minutes, when you've just passed the airfill, you coast out. So it's a good time. We are at 2 exactly there. That's why we have minute marks, so you can look at the stopwatch, look at the map. 2 minutes, we should be there. we're there. Well, except we look ahead. We look ahead.
Yeah, we look ahead, yeah. Right. So you could say, for instance, at the 4-minute mark of leg 1, we should be just going over the coast. Is that a valid thing?
Kasov. Yep, perfect.
Kasov, right. Okay, I get it. So that's why we have those scaled in. Okay, thank you for that. Wind needs taken into account. As you are aware by Ali's presentation, the wind is going to be accounted for on the fly, essentially, on the fly on the legs. So the wind in our simulation is going to be heading a flow towards the reciprocal of leg 1. So that is going to be a true heading for the wind of 340. So headwind is what I'm trying to say on that first run. Now, the wind speed is difficult in DCS. It's not very friendly, as you're probably aware. So at 33 feet, officially, it is 20 knots. At 1,600 feet, officially, it is 43 knots, and we're going to interpolate. So we're just going to go with 20 knots and stick low so we can get as close to a uniform 20 knots of wind as possible. So best we can do, really. And it's quite a strong wind for DCS. So we should get some interesting figures there. We should also talk about the speeds we're going to be using. Now, the IAS, indicated airspeed of my aircraft, is shown in miles per hour for a start. So you'd have to convert between knots and miles per hour. Now, that's another complication I just can't deal with at the moment. So what we're going to say is that I'm going to cheat and I'm going to get my aircraft to read out my speed in knots. Okay? But otherwise you'd have to do the conversion constantly. Next, for Ali's calculations as we go along for the speed, for the wind corrections and whatnot, he's going to need a true speed. As you know, there are all different types of speed in an aircraft, and they are all different. True speed, ground speed, calibrated speed, indicated speed, equivalent speed, and probably even more. They're all different values. Ali is interested in true speed today, and to give him true speed, we need to work that back from indicated speed. Now, there's a lovely little trick in aeronautics, and that says that as long as you are at very low level, near to mean sea level, which we are very near to mean sea level. We're going to be flying just a few hundred feet off the ground, near enough. So that makes the indicated airspeed in my aircraft I'm using for my World War II fighter dead reckoning style, near enough to true speed. So I'm not going to have to do any calculations between indicated airspeed in my aircraft to true speed, which I'll give to Ali, who's going to be my human computer today, who's going to be working out the math. Note, if we were flying, you'd agree with this, I'm sure, Ali, at 30,000 feet, then the deviation between indicated airspeed and true speed is going to be so much that we would have to do extra calculation between indicated airspeed to get true airspeed to give to you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 40,000 feet. Indicated airspeed is half of true airspeed, pretty much.
So just bear that in mind. If you want to go and do that, that's fine. How to do the calculation? Super easy. Just go Google, type, aeronautic airspeed calculator. You type in a box the IAS that's on your meter. You type in the altitude. You type in the QNH, which you're going to need to know the air pressure, and it will do the calculation for you. We're not going to do that today because, again, what Ali's teaching us today is to keep things simple to begin with. Okay. So quickly again, we're going to be at low altitude. A, so we can see the visual, the IFR markers easily. B, so the true airspeed equals more or less indicated airspeed. Okay, we're in the cockpit now. As you can see, we've got our instruments here, but just to make this super clear to everyone, I've got true speed down here automatically calculated for me, which is great, in knots. So we can already have that pre-calculated. We've got an altitude A MSL, that is mean above sea level there, and we're going to keep that within reason as low as we can. For reasons we specified before. We've got our E2B, our magnetic compass there, currently showing 152, where I'm actually facing at the moment. This aircraft, forget the charts, this aircraft is at 152 degrees magnetic, or 158 true, just out of interest. Here's a directional gyro. Notice that it's currently not calibrated, if that's the right word. We do need to calibrate it at those points to match our magnetic, so let's get that. We're going to set this baby at 152. And Ali, one thing to point out is if I manoeuvre too hard, bank too hard, I kill the gyro, don't I?
Absolutely. So that's why you check it before the turn and after the turn.
Roger. And is that to marry it up with the E2B?
Absolutely.
And Ali says that these things they're normal, but this is so hard already. Right, Ali, are you ready to go? And when shall I start the stopwatch? When I hit the tower?
As we can see the turning point, the first thing we do is a hat check. So, heading, we've looked at our chart. We know the heading is 153. Mm-hmm. There's no wind drift adjustment, so the wind is head on.
Yeah.
Airspeed, we know we got 20 knots head on, so we got to add 20 knots to the planned speed. So whatever speed you're going to fly, it should be 200 knots. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And then time. All you got to do is start the stopwatch, a beam. Well, you can't be on top of the mast.
Yeah,
but
I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay. Right. Here goes nothing. Don't expect genius. Let's go. I've just got. Whoops. Let's go. I've just got to fly the plane, Cap. Just fly the plane. Get the trim. Get it comfy. I've got to get coordinated with my rudder. Get all that done. Okay. So hat heading. Heading is going to be via our DG here. I think we get a true heading technically on the cheap bar at the bottom. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use my proper DG. In this case, a 153. Speed is going to be 200, so you can see that I've got a cheat mode at the bottom just to make the calculation easier. We've got true speed down there, so we get 201. Sorting my trim out, sorting my seat position out, getting everything comfortable. Altitude, cherubs. Let's keep it around 3 to 5 would be nice. So, Ali, I've got to just move out of the way of this obstacle, obviously, and then I'll get back on course.
And as you go abeam, start the stopwatch.
Right, start the stopwatch. So, slightly fast. Just getting trimmed.
Don't worry about 1 or 2 knots here there.
Roger. Right, I'm going to reach over to the other screen and I'm going to start. Stopwatch has started. Confirm. Back onto this screen, turning on. Heading of 153. In fact, we're already on 153, so that's excellent. We're 5 knots under, so let's go. I'm already starting to think ahead of what we've got coming up. At 2-minute marker, we should be hitting the coast. Ali.
Yep.
Too slow, so I've got to speed up. I'm watching my stopwatch. 23 seconds.
You've got to start looking out, left, right, over the top, all the way around the front. Okay.
That's too hard.
I know.
Who would be a pilot? Who would be a friggin'... Ali, I would have made the worst pilot in the world. I'm so glad I never got to be a pilot. Right, slow down. Looking for bandits. Migs, stop jumping me. Hitting 45 seconds. Sliding off course ever so slightly there. Okay, bang on 200 knots. Angels is good. I'm just going to say the words as I know they're not right, but you know what I mean. I'm slightly off 153, so let's get back on 153. Back on 153, calibrated with the DG. Checking instruments, checking my yaw slip, it's good. Slightly under speed, check for bandits. Chime, 1 minute and 20 mark.
You don't need to get so into the time at the moment. Just relax, look out.
Okay, well I can see some vans down there. I can see some hot babes down there, passing the airfield. Okay, I'm just looking at my chart here. At the 2-minute mark, I should be crossing over this coast in 17 seconds, apparently.
Looks good to me.
And mark, 2-minute marker. Right, let's check my credentials. I've slipped off my heading. Let's think ahead. When I do get to the water tower, what am I going to do with my stopwatch, Ali, so I don't mess things up?
Stop it, reset it, and start it again. So when you see the water after 30 seconds before, just get everything ready. Get the stopwatch ready.
Sugar, I've gone too fast. This requires constant. In real life, does this become muscle memory? Because for me, it is anything but muscle memory.
Of course it is, but we don't worry about 3 or 4 knots. It's going to have no effect.
Yeah, 4 minutes, remember, you should be over the edge of Krasov.
Roger.
Absolutely.
Just quickly checking there that the wind is applied. For some reason I can't feel the wind, but that's okay.
Oh, it's head on.
Yeah, still felt a bit wrong, but anyway, let's carry on, guys. Right, just doing all my... So, we've got to think about hat soon, right? Think about hat, yeah?
Absolutely. As we hit the coast, we need to start thinking about what we're going to do. So that gives us 1 minute and a half to go, correct?
Roger. Yeah, just about, yeah. Back to there. Okay, guys, a little bit low, so let's go up. I've got a... Right, now I think from looking at my chart, for checking, you know, sanity check, 4 minutes, we should be going over this coast here, or slightly beyond, and we hit a mark there of 3:36 thereabouts. So I think we're slightly ahead, which worries me that the wind is not applied. But let's just carry on. Let's just see.
Right, so for the next leg, we got to do well, for a start, can you see the water tower about 5 miles ahead? Should be able to.
Oh, now I've got to use my eyes, guys. Right, stand by. Look for water tower. Look for water tower. Look for water tower. I probably should have pre-recce this, but... Oh, hang on. I think I might see it. Stand by. So any error we've accumulated immediately becomes cancelled at our next hack, yeah?
Absolutely. Yep. As soon as you see the water tower, fly to it.
God, I hope that's our water tower. God, I hope that's our water tower.
Well, look at your heading. If you can't get lost in 5.5 minutes.
I can. I can, Ali. I can.
Right. So we assume you can see it. So we're thinking about the next leg. The next leg is heading of 279. That's magnetic. The wind's from the left. If you sit and work the wing, and it's slightly behind. It's 40 degrees behind. We'll call that 45. So on the watch phase, 45 minutes is 3/4. 3/4 of max drift, which was 7 knots. Oh, sorry, 6 degrees. Let's say 7 degrees. So we want 5 degrees. So we need to turn into the wind 5 degrees. Reduce our heading 274. Roll out 274.
I spotted the water tower at the last second, and I'm trying to turn, but not to kill my directional gyro.
Don't worry too much. Don't worry too much.
I'm very worried. Can you give me the heading again, please? What I should be on?
Roll out 274.
Thank you.
Start your stopwatch.
Shit. I'm the worst part. What's the speed? What's the speed?
And the wind is quarter behind, so that's 15 minutes, quarter, 5 knots, 5 knots, slow, 175.
175. Getting on that. Brakes. We got there. 274 on the DG. Oh, God, I hope I didn't spin my DG. And one.
Check the magnetic compass now.
Stand by. We're on. We're good.
A little bit out.
A little bit out, yeah. Actually, yeah, they should match, shouldn't they? All right, but let's go with it. Let's go with it.
Oh no, just move the DG to get it right.
Oh, sugar. Roger. Speed slightly shy. We want to be slightly shy. Was it 4 knots? 5 knots? 75. Okay, get in there. I'm working on this furiously. Are they married? No, they're not. I'm getting too much fluctuation in the E2B to really.
Looks pretty good to me.
What's time on this? We've got 6 minutes 45 on this leg, right?
Check.
Okay, yeah, it does look good. I think they're settling together now. I think the E2B. I've got a massive crosswind going on here.
Well, you do. That's why we applied 5 degrees of drift.
Right. I'm going to turn the wrong way slightly.
Remember, you had the railway line. Just can you see it to your left-hand side? Oh, it's to the right, is it? Is that the railway line?
Oh, I'm on the
Yes.
railway line. I'm on the railway line. Oh,
Which
you know
side?
what? I could have just followed the railway line.
You should be on the other side of the railway line. Am I correct?
I'm fast. Hang on, sorry. I got too much to balance.
Yes, you're correct.
So just move to the right-hand side of the railway line.
Doing it?
Then
Right, I've gone too far, so I'm going to come below just slightly. And I don't want to hit that tree.
you don't fly at 2'6". But I mean, we're only 100 meters off track. That's all.
Roger. Yeah, otherwise all is good. So I've got to think ahead here, guys. I'm looking for the wang or the bollock, aren't I? Right, okay. And this is going to be hard to find from low altitude. It was probably a bad thing to choose, but we're good. God, this crosswind.
Don't worry about the crosswind. Fly the heading.
Right, I've got to go up because I'm going to bang these towers. Right, back on. Heading now. Well, the good thing, it works. I know this. I mean, this crab angle I've got is crazy. Yeah, I am. If I follow Ali, matching this rail track perfectly without even trying. Look, there's the rail track. Look how my angle. I'm 20-something degrees left of it, or whatever. I don't know, a distance off it. Yeah, I'm flying it perfectly, and I'm not even trying to. So it's working. you know, I've gone off. Down to 270, let's get 270, so genius. Whatever you're doing is just genius. Okay.
So you've got loads of time to relax, look out.
No, I couldn't have been a pilot. Look at the slit. I'm going to try and do an F3 to show the value of view. Oh, God, fast again. God damn it, Cap. Sorry. I need to concentrate much more than I'm doing. Got to check the time. Got 3 minutes 40 mark. So we're gonna. I reckon we'll be ahead by a few seconds, but we'll do our best.
Just fly at 170 for a while.
Yeah.
Just
Okay, I'm slowing down. Let's show the value of viewers how we're actually flying. Look at how it's slipping sideways. It's massive crosswind. And we're compensating it with the maths. Oops.
Do you see the smoke?
Yeah! Look at that! That's a big old crosswind, boys. Right.
That's what we use to add corrections on.
In real life?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, flying out. Okay, can we start thinking about our hat? I've got this not nailed, but I've got it okay. Can we start thinking about our hat, please?
Right, so the last leg, the next heading is 047. The wind's coming from the right, I believe. So let's work that out. That gives us all the crosswind. So we look at a clock, 60 minutes, all of it. So we'll want a heading of 054.
054.
And the ground speed, the airspeed, sorry, is no correction. So 180 knots.
So 180 at 054 as the DG.
Right.
Look at the time, 5:05 mark. Got a while to go yet, and we've got a leg of 6:45, so we've got a while to go yet. I've kind of underspeed on purpose to kind of make up for that error, so I'm going to start speeding back up to 175. Okay, well, we're doing something right, because there is the coast of that lake. We've just got to look for the bollock now, guys.
Just pop up a little bit and...
yeah, roger. I mean, according to the timing, we've still got a minute to go. So, and you can...
It's only 3 miles. It's only 3 miles.
Roger.
I think you're a little bit to the left of track.
Roger. Well, I mean, because we've got the... Yeah, I am. I've flown slightly left. Maybe because I was going a bit too fast. I'm not sure. There is, guys. There's the bollock. There's the bollock. So I can ignore everything, fly to the bollock. I need to set my stopwatch in a second. I'm going to get myself on 054 DG. This is much better. I've improved massively just over this leg. Look. So I'm going to put my radius of turn in there. 45-degree bank. There. I'm going to do the stopwatch. Start. Reset. Start. Shit. Done. Speed 180.
Altitude.
Speed 180. DG 1054. Come on, let's get that radius back in. Speed up. So 054 accounts for the wind drift, yeah?
Yep, absolutely. Max drift.
Okay, got the drift on there. A few more knots, and then I think we've got this. We're going to do a comparison between the E2B and when the E2B. Now the problem with the E2B, reason why we don't use E2B is because it's a bit crazy, right? It's not in the turn and kind of subsequently for a bit. Roger. And so you can see it's going to settle. It's going to settle when we fly straight enough. And what we want to see is obviously it match our little guy there. Eventually, you can feel the drift again, valued viewers. If I'm on speed, so I can play about with it a bit. I've got a whopping great crab going on. Look at that, it's flying sideways. Right, I need to concentrate, stop playing around. Right, I'm on speed. I'm on DG. DG matches... DG, yeah, it pretty much matches the E2B within... kind of 4... no, the E2B is still bouncing about. Let's trust the gyro, guys. It wasn't a very vicious turn. Still bouncing about the E2B. Time. Okay, we're coming up to 2 minutes. Now, what I can do is check where that river is and then look on my my check. It should be 1 minute. So that should be about 2 minutes. And it is 8 seconds out from the river. So that's a good thing of having those markers on, right? I could have checked my current progress. I've gone off speed. Sorry, guys. I'm talking bollocks again. In a tornado, did you have like an auto throttle to keep you on speed?
Oh, absolutely. We fly
I hate you.
time on target to the second 1 knot 40 minutes before to get the speed right, and it's just a little button up and down 1 knot.
Like cruise control, right?
Yeah, better than the F-15, F-18.
Right, going over a second river. Ooh. Wow, that's awesome. And chase that compass, speed up a little bit.
And of course, in peacetime, we used to avoid flying over the middles of cities.
Roger.
Look at the wind. And the
Wind
smoke.
and chimneys.
Perfect. Max wind. We use max drift. Now the wind's 90 degrees to us. Perfect.
Roger. Wow. Okay. And I'm just having to look out for bandits and blah 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 blah. And try not to hit these lovely civilians in the towers. That would be unsociable. Oh. And we, unlike the RAF, I'm going to get back on course because I've drifted, because I'm a douche. And we
Speed.
are... oh God, why cap? Because I went up. I have been above for a while, so I don't think it's going to be a massive issue. Okay, we're getting back. And to get back on the heading now. Okay, we're back on 054, and we're back on 180.
I can see the tower.
You can see the tower? I can't see it.
It's a mast.
You've got better
Yeah,
eyes.
the mast.
Jesus, I need to
Just
get that
off your
building.
nose.
Roger.
Just off your nose to the
You know
right.
what, guys? I can see why the goddamn tornado needed a navigator. There's no way you could do this. Hang on, I've gone off course again. Which way should I be heading? That way. Speed's too slow. Bang it up. Time 4 minutes. Yeah, so that's a good vertical extent, that is.
If you can see the mast cap, just fly to it.
Roger. So, yeah, I mean, what I'll do out of interest is follow. I will obviously deviate to the tower. I just want to see where it leads me out of interest. Because so what we're saying is that this is allowable error.
Absolutely, you can see it. So you can. You got to turn what?
So
5
that's
degrees?
yes. So that's the job done.
Yep.
Interesting, guys. What I'm going to do is just one more. I'm going to get onto the first leg and pretend to redo it, and then we'll terminate. Just so I can have a practice. Because I'm doing this for the first time, obviously, value viewers, which I'm so crap. But so I want to go. So I'm going to do my hat. I'm going to want to get on. There's a headwind, so no deviation, no variation in the heading. So I'm going to want to get on. Too fast again. I'm going to want to get on. No drift. So I'm going to want to get on the magnetic, which is
281. Sorry.
Negative
153.
At 200 knots because we've got a headwind of 20 knots. Right. Right, so I don't have to look at any instruments now. I can just think about doing the radius. So the radius realistically would turn inside the tower. So I would do. Let's see how far I was out of that, by the way, because I was flying so crap. I was. Oh, look at that! I'm going to be perfect. Let's fly to the tower. So I know I was above and below the speed a lot, but watch this. I know you guys can't see the stopwatch, but and mark. That's mark there. It's what? 10 seconds out? Not bad. Right,
What do you need?
45-degree bank and no rail aft stick. I'm going to 153 and 200 knots. I'm getting the hang of this now, guys. Check out for bandits. 153. Check. 200 knots. Get the welly in. I could fly around this all day. I won't because I've got to go make my next video. I'll fly around this all day until I get this perfect alley. What I could do.
That was good enough.
Yeah, I did it. Right, that's it. Done. What we're going to do is celebrate. Woo! Ah. So that was a course with about 16 nautical miles in between each one. I know it took a lot of faffing from me, being me, but Ali doing all the calculations and all the dead reckoning, which is what that was. There was nothing really there that was perfect, was it? Even the wind calculations, you weren't doing trigonometry.
No.
You were doing the taking the averages, and that's good enough. How interesting. Right, well, that's excellent for today, Ali. Maybe next week or whenever, and now I've had a bit of practice, we can put that in a more military scenario where we've got a target to actually get onto. How does that sound?
Yeah, with a time and target and a target to hit.
Yeah, notes, we didn't do any fuel either, but to be honest, all my brain cells are being used at the moment. I don't think I could worry about fuel at the moment. But I think that's great, and we're all here to learn. That's why we're all here.
When you're applying these corrections, you need to sort of look at a compass rose and to get the angles and everything, and it slowly comes easier and easier and easier.
At the moment, it's just I'm not used to looking at a gyro compass and matching that with my speed and stuff like that. Again, a real pilot, that's kind of the first things you start learning, isn't it? That kind of stuff. So you're going to get your muscle memory. Anything you want to add, Artie? I found that quite it's slow but exhilarating.
Yeah, and it does. It comes with practice, and the other things come with practice as well. Like when you notice that your speed is adrift, I mean, you can make a correction fairly easily to that. Just if you've been flying 5 knots behind, then you can put that back on to get yourself back on time.
Right.
But you've always got your minute check marks anyway to help you out with that.
I found them. You know what I found really useful there? The minute check marks. I knew that on leg 1, 2 minutes to the nearest second or so was over that coast. Okay, so I knew that I was whatever it was 8 seconds behind at that point. So I didn't make any corrections, but potentially I could have actually made corrections on the minute mark, couldn't I? I know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So you could say, oh, okay, I'm 10 seconds behind here. I need to put an extra 3 knots in or whatever. And then on the next check on here, where I should be 4 minutes in, I can make that correction. How interesting, guys.
There was also a good example of on the second turning point, or the last one, as we went round the dog's bollocks, the bollocks, we rolled out and we were just on the inside or the edge of the lake. It gave you a really good rollout heading, didn't
right.
it?
Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
And that sort of feature when you've got a shitty DG, you just got to line up with that.
Yeah.
Then look at the DG.
Also, the railway was great. I completely forgot about the railway, but once we'd set our heading a few miles in, I looked below us and we were on the railway, which is where we should have been. We're slightly offset on track, but that was me spotting the tower late. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to think of course, is the famous Dam Busters raid, where they were flying along the rivers and the canals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very interesting.
It's not. You're not trying to make it difficult. You're trying to make it easy.
Okay, guys, that's given me a lot to think about. I really enjoyed that. I look forward to doing more of that and getting better, and maybe even bringing some of the boys in with me. I think that'd be great. Okay, you two, thank you very much for that. I know it's taken a lot of time, and I'll see you in due course for maybe a follow-up.
You're welcome, Cap.
All right, cheers, guys. Cheers, guys. Bye.